Can you believe something as simple as a frozen treat has a story that spans thousands of years, involves emperors, inventors, and even a few accidental geniuses? Buckle up, because we're going on a chilly ride from ancient snow cones to modern soft serve. So, picture this. It's a hot summer day, you're licking a cone, and you're wondering, who even came up with this stuff? Well, tonight we're answering that question and more. We'll talk about how ice cream went from a luxury for kings to a treat for everyone, uncover some bizarre flavors from history, and maybe even debunk a myth or two. Alright, let's kick things off way back, like thousands of years ago. The history of ice cream doesn't start with a scoop shop, believe it or not. It starts with something much simpler: snow. Yup, snow. Imagine you're in ancient China around 200 BCE during the Han Dynasty. It's hot, you're sweating, and someone has the bright idea to mix snow with honey and fruit juice. Boom! That's the great-granddaddy of ice cream. Now, this wasn't your corner store soft serve. Getting snow was a big deal. Servants would trek up mountains or store snow in deep cellars called ice houses to keep it year-round. Only the super rich, like emperors and nobles, could afford this treat. They'd flavor it with stuff like rice paste or fermented mare's milk. Sounds weird, right? Let's do a quick poll. Would you try fermented milk snow cones? Type yay or nay in the chat. I'm betting most of you are nay on that one. Fast forward a bit, and we see similar ideas popping up elsewhere. In Persia, around 400 BCE, they were making something called faluda. It's still around today, a mix of icy rose water, vermicelli noodles, and sugar syrup. No dairy yet, but it's frozen and sweet, so it's in the ice cream family tree. They stored ice in these crazy structures called yakhchals. Think dome-shaped refrigerators made of mud bricks that kept ice cold even in the desert. How cool is that? Pun intended again. Okay, let's jump to ancient Rome. There's a story about Emperor Nero who ruled in the 1st century CE. This guy was wild. He supposedly sent runners to the Alps to fetch snow, then mixed it with fruit and nectar for his personal dessert. Now, I gotta warn you, historians argue about whether this actually happened. Nero was more into lavish parties than logistics, so maybe it's a legend. What do you think? Did Nero really eat proto-ice cream? Drop a fact or fiction in the chat, and I'll read some of your guesses. Here's where it gets interesting. These early treats weren't ice cream as we know it. No milk, no cream, just icy slush. Dairy didn't enter the picture until later, and that's a game changer. But before we move on, let's pause for a trivia question to keep you on your toes. What fruit do historians think was most likely used in those ancient Chinese snow treats? Was it A, oranges, B, lychee, or C, apples? Type your answer in the chat, and I'll reveal the answer in a bit. Spoiler, it's a fruit that's still a big deal in China today. While we're waiting for your guesses, let's talk about why these early desserts matter. They show us that humans have always craved something cold and sweet, no matter where they were. From China to Persia to Rome, people were experimenting with whatever they had. Snow, fruit, honey, even noodles. It's like the ultimate DIY dessert project. And it sets the stage for what's coming next. The moment when ice cream starts to look a little more familiar. Okay, we're moving into the Middle Ages now. Think knights, castles, and a whole lot of spice trading. This is where ice cream's story gets creamier, literally. By around the 9th century, we start seeing dairy-based frozen treats in places like the Middle East and Asia. The big breakthrough, figuring out how to mix milk or cream with ice and sugar. Sounds simple, but back then, it was like inventing the wheel. Let's zoom in on the Middle East first. In the Abbasid Caliphate, modern-day Iraq, Iran, that area, they were making a dessert called sherbet. Not the neon stuff in your freezer today, but a fancy mix of fruit syrups, milk, and ice. The word sherbet actually comes from Arabic, meaning to drink, because it was sometimes more liquidy, like a smoothie. They'd chill it with ice from those yakhchals we talked about earlier. These guys were basically the OGs of dessert engineering. Here's a fun fact. Sugar was a luxury back then, worth its weight in gold. So, sherbet wasn't something your average farmer was eating. It was for caliphs and merchants who could afford it. They'd flavor it with stuff like saffron, rosewater, or pistachios. Sounds pretty gourmet, right? Let's do another quick poll. Would you try a rose-flavored sherbet? Drop a yes or no in the chat, and let's see how adventurous you all are. Now, how did this idea spread? Thank the Silk Road. Traders carried recipes for sherbet and other sweets across Asia and into Europe. By the time we hit the 13th century, someone in China, possibly during the Mongol Empire, starts experimenting with milk-based ices. There's a legend that Marco Polo brought an ice cream recipe back to Italy from China around 1295. Picture him scribbling down, mix milk, ice, sugar. But here's the catch. Historians think this story is mostly bunk. Marco Polo's travel logs mention a lot of weird foods, but nothing clearly screams ice cream. Still, it's a fun tale. What's your take? Did Marco Polo introduce ice cream to Europe? Type maybe or nah in the chat. Alright, let's settle that trivia question from earlier. The fruit most likely used in ancient Chinese snow treats? Lychee. If you guessed B, give yourself a virtual high five. Lychees were super popular in ancient China, and they're sweet enough to make any snow cone pop. Thanks for playing along. Let's keep the energy up. Back to Europe. By the Renaissance around the 1500s, Italy's getting in on the action. They're making something called gelato, which is closer to modern ice cream, but still not quite there. The Medici family, you know, those rich Italian art patrons, loved throwing lavish feasts and frozen desserts were their flex. They'd serve sorbets made with fruit and wine, chilled with snow carted down from the mountains. Can you imagine the logistics? Servants hauling snow just so some duke could have a fancy dessert. Wild? Here's where technology steps in. Around this time, people figure out that mixing salt with ice lowers the freezing point, making it easier to churn creamy desserts. It's like alchemy for foodies. This trick spreads across Europe, and suddenly, ice cream's not just a royal treat. It's starting to trickle down to the wealthy merchant class. But it's still crazy expensive, so don't picture peasants licking cones yet. We're now in the 1600s and 1700s, and ice cream's about to go from a niche luxury to a cultural phenomenon. This is the era of wigs, revolutions, and some seriously cool dessert innovations. Let's start in France, because of course the French get fancy with it. At the court of Louis XIV, the Sun King, ice cream's a status symbol. They're serving it in gold bowls at Versailles, flavored with stuff like lavender or ambergris. Yeah, that's whale vomit. Super glamorous, right? Chat, I gotta know. Would you eat ice cream made with whale vomit for historical accuracy? Drop a heck yeah or hard pass in the chat. I'm guessing most of you are passing on that one. Anyway, France gives us one of the first big ice cream moments in 1686. There's this place in Paris called Café Procope. It's still around today, by the way. And they start serving gelato-style desserts to the public. Not just kings, but anyone with a few coins. It's a game changer. People are losing their minds over frozen lemon and cinnamon flavors. Now, let's cross the Atlantic to colonial America. Ice cream shows up in the 1700s, and guess who's obsessed? The Founding Fathers. Thomas Jefferson was a total ice cream nerd. He wrote down a recipe for vanilla ice cream that's still preserved at Monticello. It's got eggs, cream, and a whole lot of stirring. George Washington was into it too. He reportedly spent $200 on ice cream one summer, which is like thousands in today's money. Even back then, Americans were all about their scoops. Here's a trivia break. What flavor do you think was the most popular in colonial America? A. Chocolate, B. Vanilla, or C. Strawberry? Type your guess in the chat and I'll spill the answer soon. Hint: one of these wasn't even widely available yet. Okay, the real turning point comes in the 1800s, and it's all about technology and hustle. First, there's this woman named Nancy Johnson. No relation to the ice cream brand, sadly. In 1843, she invents the hand-cranked ice cream maker. It's a wooden bucket with a paddle that churns cream into smooth, dreamy ice cream. No more stirring by hand for hours. Nancy's a hero, and her design's basically what every hipster ice cream shop uses today for that artisanal vibe. Then comes the ice trade. By the mid-1800s, people are harvesting ice from lakes in places like New England and shipping it worldwide. Ice becomes cheaper, so more folks can make ice cream at home. Suddenly, it's not just for the elite, it's for middle-class families too. Ice cream parlors start popping up, and they're the hot spot for dates and socializing. Think of it like the Starbucks of the 19th century, but with better sundaes. Let's talk about one of my favorite stories from this era, the ice cream soda. In 1874, a guy named Robert Green's at a fair in Philadelphia. He's selling cream sodas, but he runs out of soda water. In a panic, he swaps in ice cream, and bam, the ice cream soda is born. People go nuts for it. There's even a debate about whether it's moral to drink fizzy ice cream on Sundays, because some towns had strict no-soda laws. Can you imagine a world where ice cream floats are controversial? Would you fight for your right to a root beer float? Drop a yes or no, and let's see. Alright, we're zooming into the 20th century, where ice cream becomes the global superstar we know today. This is when things get really fun. Think waffle cones, ice cream trucks, and flavors that make you go, who thought of that? Let's start with the cone, because it's iconic. The ice cream cone's origin is a bit of a mess, but the big moment happens at the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. Louis World's Fair. There's a vendor selling ice cream, and he's running out of bowls. Next to him, a guy's making waffles. Thin, crispy ones called zalabia. They team up, roll the waffles into cones, and start scooping ice cream into them. Mind blown. The fairgoers eat it up, literally, and the cone takes off. Now, there's some debate about who exactly invented it. A Syrian immigrant named Ernest Hamwi gets a lot of credit, but others claim they did it first. Chat, let's settle this. Should we give Ernest the cone crown? Type Cone King or Team Others? Trivia answer time. Back in colonial America, the top ice cream flavor was vanilla. If you guessed B, you're killing it. Chocolate wasn't big yet, and strawberries were more of a seasonal thing. Vanilla was the flex because it was expensive and exotic. Nice work, everyone. Okay, the 20th century also brings us ice cream on the go. In 1920, a guy named Harry Burt in Ohio invents the Good Humor Bartone ice cream bar. He starts selling them from a horse-drawn cart, ringing bells to attract kids. That's right, ice cream trucks start as horse carts. By the 1930s, Good Humor's a national brand, and those jingly trucks are everywhere. I can still hear that music in my head. Anyone else? Drop a yes if you've chased an ice cream truck as a kid. Now let's talk chains. Dairy Queen pops up in 1940 with Soft Serve. Game changer. It's smoother, airier, and perfect for piling high. Baskin-Robbins comes along in 1945, bragging about 31 flavors, one for every day of the month. Fun fact, their most divisive flavor might be bubblegum. People either love it or hate it. Where do you stand? Type bubblegum yay or bubblegum nay. The 20th century is also when we get weird with flavors. Japan's got stuff like octopus and soy sauce ice cream. In the US, you can find bacon, avocado, or even pizza-flavored scoops. I tried garlic ice cream once. Let's just say it's memorable. What's the weirdest flavor you've ever tasted? Share it in the chat, and I'll read some of your answers. Oh, and let's not forget Ben & Jerry's, starting in a Vermont gas station in 1978. They're all about chunky, funky flavors like Cherry Garcia and fish food. Their social activism vibe, fair trade, eco-friendly, makes them a hit with the hippie crowd and beyond. They're proof you can sell ice cream and save the world, kinda. So here we are in 2025, and ice cream's bigger than ever. You've got artisanal shops charging $8 a scoop for small batch lavender honey flavors. Worth it? Let me know. Overpriced or totally legit? Then there's the vegan boom. Oat milk, coconut milk, you name it. Dairy-free ice cream's so good now, even carnivores are sneaking scoops. Tech's changing the game too. Liquid nitrogen ice cream's a thing. Freezes it in seconds, super smooth. And don't get me started on rolled ice cream from Thailand. Those curls are Instagram gold. Social media is huge for ice cream culture. TikTok's got people making ice cream hacks, like blending soft serve with cereal. Tried any of those? Drop a hack yes or hack no in the chat. There's also this trend called ice cream museums. They're not really museums, more like selfie playgrounds with sprinkle pools and giant cone installations. They're popping up in cities like New York and Miami. Kind of fun, kind of gimmicky. Would you visit one? Type selfie scoop or pass. Looking ahead, scientists are messing with lab-grown dairy. Ice cream without cows. It's wild to think we might scoop synthetic sundaes someday. Plus, climate change is pushing companies to rethink supply chains. Less waste, greener transport. Ice cream's getting a glow up, and I'm here for it. Oh, and here's a teaser to keep you hooked. Did you know ice cream once sparked actual riots? Yep, people got wild over this stuff. Not just brain freezes, but real chaos. Stick around to hear about that. Plus some flavors so odd they might have started wars of their own. Let's dive in. What's your first guess for ice cream's origin? Let's dig deeper into China, because they were doing more than just snow cones. Some records hint at a proto-ice cream called Bing during the Tang Dynasty, around 600 CE. It wasn't just honey and juice. They started experimenting with buffalo milk and camphor, a waxy stuff used in medicine. Yeah, medicinal ice cream. Imagine a doctor prescribing a scoop for a headache. Would you trust that RX? Type scoop doc or no way in the chat? Here's the wild part. These early treats were status symbols. In China, only the elite got to indulge, and they'd serve them at banquets to flex their wealth. One story says a poet, Yang Wanlei, wrote about eating flavored snow so good it melted his soul. Poetic, right? But getting ice was brutal. Workers sometimes died hauling it from mountains. Makes you appreciate your freezer, huh? Persia's faluda wasn't just a dessert either. It was a ritual. They'd serve it during Nowruz, their new year, symbolizing renewal. Families would gather, slurp rose-scented ice, and pray for a sweet year. Kinda wholesome, but also fancy. Would you eat noodles in your ice cream for tradition? Drop a tradition yum or hard pass? Oh, and trivia time. What was the main sweetener in these ancient treats? A. Sugar, B. Honey, or C. Dates. Type your guess. I'll reveal it soon. Spoiler, one of these was crazy rare back then. These early experiments set the stage for what's next, when dairy crashes the party. Let's linger in the Middle East. They were sherbet masters. Some recipes used katayef, a pancake-like pastry, crumbled into the mix for texture. Picture a dessert taco, but frozen and sweet. They'd flavor it with rare spices like cardamom or even musk. Yep, from deer glands. Super bougie. Would you try musk sherbet? Type fancy bite or nope in the chat. Here's a crazy story. In Baghdad, around 900 CE, a poet described sherbet as snow kissed by paradise. They'd serve it in silver bowls at poetry slams. Imagine open mic night with dessert. But ice was so precious, caliphs had guards watching ice houses. One time, a thief got caught stealing ice and was exiled. Harsh, right? In China, they weren't slacking either. Mongol Khans loved frozen milk treats, sometimes spiked with tea leaves. Early matcha vibes. They'd host feasts where servants churned ice by hand, a job so grueling it was basically punishment. Makes you glad for blenders, huh? Trivia answer. The main sweetener back then was honey. Sugar was too pricey, and dates were regional. Oh, and the Silk Road wasn't just goods, it was ideas. Arab traders taught Europeans about sherbet, setting up Italy's gelato obsession. One merchant's diary mentions swapping sherbet recipes for silk in Samarkand. Global food collab? Anyone? Let's move to when ice cream hits the big leagues. Let's zoom into France. Things got wild. At Versailles, ice cream was a power move. Courtiers would gift rare flavors to curry favor, like orange blossom or violet. One noble blew his fortune importing ice from Norway just for a party. Talk about flexing. Chat. Would you bankroll ice cream to impress? Big spender or chill vibes? Here's a gem. In 1718, a cookbook called The Modern Cook drops one of the first ice cream recipes. Cream, sugar, eggs, and fruit, churned with salt and ice. That salt trick? Pure science. Lowers the freezing point. It's like alchemy, and suddenly ice cream's easier to make. Still, it's pricey, so only merchants and nobles are scooping. In America, it's not just Jefferson. Dolly Madison, First Lady, throws ice cream parties at the White House in the 1800s, serving it in crystal bowls. She once had a strawberry ice cream mold shaped like the Capitol. Patriotic dessert goals. But the real hero? Nancy Johnson, 1843, patents the hand-cranked ice cream maker. No more endless stirring. Nancy's why we've got creamy scoops at home. Oh, and the ice trade. Huge deal. By the 1830s, New England's shipping lake ice worldwide. Ice cream parlors explode. Think soda fountains, but cooler. One parlor in Boston served ice cream oysters. Scoops disguised as seafood. Weird flex, but okay. Would you try it? Oyster scoop or no thanks? Fun story. In 1849, a Philly kid invents the ice cream sandwich by slapping scoops between biscuits. Street vendors start selling them, and it's chaos. Kids mobbing carts, parents freaking out. Ice cream's officially a craze now. Let's talk cones. There's more drama. At the St. Louis Fair, at least 5 vendors claimed they invented it. One guy, Italo Marchione, even patented a cone mold in 1903, but nobody cared. He wasn't at the fair. It's like a dessert soap opera. Chat. Should we make a movie about cone wars? Epic scoop or pass? Ice cream trucks? They got wild. In the 1950s, good humor drivers were like rock stars. Kids would chase them for miles. But some towns banned their bells, saying it caused public disturbances. Can you imagine outlawing ice cream jingles? Type bell ban boo or let it ring. Chains took it next level. Howard Johnson's in the 1930s had 28 flavors and roadside stands everywhere. Early fast food vibes. Their butter pecan was so popular it sparked copycats. Then Ben & Jerry's, 1978, starts in a Vermont gas station. Their Chunky Monkey, bananas, walnuts, chocolate, blew minds. Fun fact, they once made a flavor called Economic Crunch during the 1987 stock crash with broken candy bits. Recession dessert? Anyone? Global flavors got weird. In India, kulfi, frozen milk with pistachios, starts hitting U.S. shops in the 80s. Japan's mochi ice cream, little dough balls stuffed with scoops, goes viral in the 90s. Ever tried one? Mochi madness or not yet? Oh, and one time a Tokyo shop sold eel ice cream. Sold out in days. Brave souls, would you? Drop your take. Let's talk social media. It's ice cream's BFF. TikTok's got folks blending scoops with cereal or frying ice cream balls. Try to hack? Hack yes or hack no? One viral trend. Ice cream tacos where waffle cones get stuffed with toppings. Sounds messy but fun, would you? Taco scoop or spoon only? Health trends are big too. Low sugar, keto, protein-packed ice creams everywhere. Halo Top blew up by marketing healthy pints. Some folks eat the whole thing guilt-free, but purists are like, just give me sugar. Where you at? Healthy scoop or classic vibes? Pop culture loves ice cream. Movies like The Sandlot made s'mores scoops iconic. Taylor Swift name-dropped Ben & Jerry's in a song, and sales spiked. Oh, and trivia. What's today's top flavor? A. Chocolate. B. Vanilla. C. Strawberry. Guess now, I'll wrap it soon. One last story. In 2020, a small shop in Maine started quarantine flavors like Zoom Call Zest. Lemon with cookie crumbs. They donated profits to food banks. Ice cream with a heart. Love that. Chat, what's a flavor you'd invent? Share it. All right, everybody, let's get sneaky. Ice cream's got a dark side, and I'm spilling the tea. You'd think a scoop's all fun and games, but this treat's been banned, smuggled, and blamed for all kinds of trouble. Grab your spoons, because we're diving into the forbidden history of ice cream. Get ready to pick sides. Picture England, late 1600s. Ice cream's just hitting Europe, and folks are losing it over this chilly dessert. But some doctors? Total buzzkills. They claim eating cold stuff, like fruit-flavored ices, messes with your stomach, makes you lazy, or worse, unhinges the soul. Unhinges the soul! In London, one preacher called it frosty sin and got vendors shut down for a summer. Imagine no ice cream because some guy's preaching fire and brimstone. Would you hide a scoop under your cloak? Type secret scoop or play it safe in the chat. I'm betting on rebels. It gets wilder. In 1700s France, right before the Revolution, ice cream was a noble thing. Think Marie Antoinette slurping rosewater gelato. But the poor folks? They're stuck with breadcrumbs. Rumors spread that aristocrats were hoarding ice to make dessert while peasants starved. One pamphlet said, "They freeze cream while we freeze in the streets." It wasn't totally true, but it fueled riots. Angry mobs trashed a Paris cafe serving sorbet. Spoons flying, tables flipped. Dessert drama, right? Would you storm a shop for a sundae? Drop riot spoon or stay chill? Now, let's talk smuggling, because ice cream's been contraband. During the American Civil War 1860s, the Union blockaded southern ports, cutting off sugar and ice. Confederate high society was not giving up their peach ice cream, though. Rich folks paid smugglers to sneak Caribbean sugar through swamps. Think pirates, but for dessert. One diary from Georgia mentions a lady trading her silver teapot for a bucket of ice. That's next-level craving. Ever want ice cream that bad? Type "trade it all" or "I'm good" in the chat. Oh, and here's a curveball. Ice cream got tangled in politics. In 1800s Prussia, modern Germany, some towns banned it, saying it distracted workers. Factories wanted folks grinding, not licking cones. Vendors went underground, selling scoops in back alleys like it was a speakeasy. One guy got caught and fined a year's wages. Ouch, would you buy alley ice cream? Shady scoop or hard pass? Trivia time. Why else was ice cream banned in history? A. It caused fights. B. It was too expensive. Or C. It melted too fast? Guess in the chat. I'll spill later. These bans show ice cream wasn't just dessert. It was rebellion, luxury, and sometimes a straight-up scandal. Let's keep digging. What's your take on forbidden scoops? Okay, let's get weird. Ice cream flavors have always been out there, and they've sparked some epic battles. From gross recipes to actual rivalries, this dessert's got a spicy side. Buckle up because we're tasting the strangest scoops history's dished out, and I need you to weigh in. Let's start old school, 1700s Europe. Rich folks weren't just eating vanilla. They went nuts with flavors like asparagus ice cream. Yep, veggie dessert. A British cookbook from 1760 has a recipe. Boil asparagus, blend it with cream, freeze it. They called it green elegance. Tasted like cold soup, probably. Then there's Parmesan ice cream. Cheese in your cone. Served at fancy dinners to flex. Would you try veggie or cheese ice cream? Type weird yum or keep it classic in the chat. Jump to Japan 1800s. They're making tamago ice cream. Egg yolk and sugar like frozen custard, but funkier. Samurai loved it, saying it gave them strength. One warlord supposedly ate it before battles, claiming it was his secret weapon. Imagine scooping courage. Anyone feeling samurai vibes? Drop egg power or no thanks. Now, food fights, because ice cream started wars. In the 1880s, New York, ice cream carts were everywhere, but vendors got territorial. Two guys, Tony and Sal, both claimed the best gelato on Mulberry Street. It turned into a literal brawl, scoops thrown, carts tipped. Cops broke it up, but the neighborhood picked sides for years. Team Tony even boycotted Sal's cart. Pick your fighter. Team Tony or Team Sal? Here's a doozy. In 1900s Mexico, a town fair had an ice cream contest gone wrong. Two families entered their nieve recipes, one with chili, one with tamarind. Judges couldn't agree, and it turned into a shouting match. Kids started pelting each other with fruit ices. Total chaos. The chili folks won, but the tamarind crew swore revenge. Ever get that competitive over dessert? Type food fight or stay sweet. Trivia break. What's the weirdest flavor banned somewhere? A. Garlic, B. Fish, or C. Tobacco? Guess now. I'll tell you soon. Oh, and one more gem. In the 1920s, Chicago, a shop tried bacon ice cream. Customers loved it, but health inspectors shut it down, saying it confused palates. Bacon confusion. Wild. Would you scoop it? Bacon bliss or pass? These flavors and fights show ice cream's never boring. Chat, what's the strangest flavor you've tried? Share it. We're going worldwide now, chat. Ice cream's a global rock star, and every corner's got its own spin. From ancient tricks to modern madness, let's explore how this dessert keeps surprising us. Get ready for some stories that'll make you hungry. Or maybe raise an eyebrow. Start in Egypt 1500s. They didn't have freezers, but they had kashta, clotted cream mixed with fruit syrups, chilled in clay pots buried in sand. Street vendors sold it during Ramadan, breaking fast with sweet relief. It wasn't quite ice cream, but close. Creamy, cold, dreamy. They'd sing to attract buyers like dessert karaoke. Would you sing for a scoop? Type tune in or just eat. Over in Brazil, 1900s, they're obsessed with acai ice cream. Purple, tangy, made from Amazon berries. It started as a street food for fishermen, but by the 1980s, it's a national craze. Surfers eat it for energy, piling on granola and bananas. It's like a smoothie bowl, but frozen. Tried acai? Berry Blast or new to me? Then there's Russia. Bear with me. In the Soviet-era 1960s, ice cream was a state obsession. They built factories pumping out plombir, a rich, eggy scoop. Vendors sold it in paper cups on snowy streets. Russians ate it year-round, even at minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. One guy told me his grandma called it winter's joy. Would you eat ice cream in a blizzard? Snow scoop or warm vibes. Modern twist. South Korea's got bingsu, shaved ice topped with red bean paste, fruit, and milky ice cream. It's a social thing. Friends share giant bowls in cafes, snapping pics for Instagram. Some add gummy bears or cereal, total sugar party. Ever shared a dessert mountain? Bingsu buddies or solo scoop. One last story. In New Zealand, trivia answer, they eat the most ice cream per person, like 28 liters a year. They've got Hokey Pokey ice cream, vanilla with toffee bits. It's so iconic. They put it in milkshakes, pies, even beer. A brewery tried Hokey Pokey Stout, sold out in hours. Would you sip ice cream beer? Toffee brew or stick to cones? Chat. What's a local ice cream twist where you're from? Drop it. I love learning from you. These global adventures show ice cream's not just a treat. It's a vibe, a tradition, a way to connect. Let's keep the scoop love going. One last trivia. What's the world's most popular ice cream flavor today? A. Chocolate, B. Vanilla, or C. Strawberry? Guess in the chat. I'll wrap it up soon. Wow, what a ride. From ancient snow cones to lab-grown scoops, ice cream's history is a total trip. My favorite part? Probably the St. Louis cone story. Love a good food fair tale. What's yours? Trivia answer. The top flavor today is vanilla, still. Chocolate's close, but vanilla's king. Great guesses, everyone. Thanks for sticking with me. I'm pumped to keep sharing food stories like this. Next time, maybe we'll tackle pizza or chocolate. What do you want? Type your pick, and I'll plan it. Oh, and smash that subscribe button. We're building this food history fam together. All right, keep eating ice cream and stay curious. Catch you in the next stream. Peace out.